We are continuing to remember the life of George Floyd 1 year after he was killed by Minneapolis police. Events are planned in Minneapolis today to continue discussing police and social reform. This comes as Congress continues to work on passing a police reform bill as well. Activists say there's still much more work to be done to change the culture of policing in this country. For more on this, I want to bring in Marc Lamont Hill. He's a scholar and professor at Temple University. Hi, Marc. Welcome. Great to have you with us. So as we mentioned, it's been 1 year since George Floyd's murder. What are you personally reflecting on today?
I'm first reflecting on the human being. Very often we have these cases, these moments where people die and relatively anonymous people become famous. And their stories, their lives become cases, and we almost objectify them, even with the best intentions. So I want to remember George Floyd, not just as somebody on a sign or someone whose name is said in hashtags and in chants, but as a father, as someone who was loved, as a son, as someone who was cared about by so many people. And then secondly, I want to think about what's happened over the last year. A year ago, George Floyd was killed. Christian Cooper was accosted in Central Park by Amy Cooper. We were just beginning to really hear Breonna Taylor's name. Ahmaud Arbery's case was still developing. And now, a year later, we have a very organized and sustained movement to challenge state-sanctioned violence, to challenge the killing of unarmed Black men and women. And because of that, I think that we have some reason to be optimistic, or at least hopeful. At the same time, we have so much work to do. And so I'm thinking about all the things that have to change to prevent more George Floyds from happening.
Right. On the one hand, we see the conviction of Derek Chauvin. We see advancements in the Ahmaud Arbery case that are promising. But when you look at the bigger picture 1 year later, what specific work still needs to be done? I mean, obviously, this policing reform bill is stalling in Congress. The head legislators who are working on it say that they're making progress, but they still need more time. What needs to be done sort of immediately and when we look further ahead?
Immediately, we need to have a vision of what we want the world to look like. It's very easy to pass legislation. It's very easy to call for legislation. But there's a more fundamental question that we have to ask, which is, what is the world that we want to live in? Do we want to live in a world with warmer and fuzzier prisons and nicer police officers? Or do we want to recreate society in a way where people's needs are met fundamentally, so that the need for police to show up in the first place is eliminated, so that the need to cage people in the first place is eliminated? That's a really big question that we have to ask in terms of what our goals and our dreams are, what our freedom dreams are. But the other piece of this, I think, is we have to figure out how to push those in power to do things that they intuitively would not do. How do we organize our votes? How do we organize our money? How do we organize our voices in such a way that people give us the outcomes that we want, that we demand the outcomes that we deserve? That's a long-term push, but that can't just happen from a small chorus of people. We have to push the American people to shift consciousness. And I think the death of George Floyd, being able to see the gruesomeness of that more than 9 minutes with the knee on his neck, forced America to come to terms and maybe even mature a little bit in terms of how it understands the relationships between police and citizens in this country, especially Black citizens.
Let's move now a little farther afield to the Middle East. You've written a book titled Except for Palestine, The Limits of Progressive Politics. Explain to our audience why you believe those who are involved in the Black Lives Matter movement should also be involved in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
We need to have a global vision of freedom. If I'm in the Black Lives Matter movement, it's partly because I fundamentally believe in the value of Black lives and the need to protect us from state violence and to live lives of dignity and freedom and prosperity. But that goal isn't just reserved for me as a Black person in the United States. I want people in Colombia to be free. I want people in Botswana to be free. I want people in Crimea to be free. I want people in India to be free. And I certainly want people in historic Palestine to be free. My freedom dream is expansive, and it has to be. And at the best moments of our history, whether it's Martin King calling for an end to the Vietnam War, or whether it's Malcolm X standing in solidarity with people in Ghana as they fight for freedom, we've always had movements where our leadership, Angela Davis, Ethel Minor, have stood up and said, we need to do something globally. And right now, as we see an awful set of circumstances in Gaza, as we see an awful set of circumstances in the West Bank, we have to say, how can we lend our support, our solidarity with Palestinian people so that they can be free? Part of it is the fact that the systems that oppress people in one country oppress people globally. Part of it is, as American taxpayers, Black American tax dollars, just like every other American's tax dollars, help support the state of Israel. And the state of Israel is currently occupying East Jerusalem, currently occupying the West Bank, and continues to border Gaza by land, air, and sea since 1967 for the first two, and since 2006 for Gaza. And so we have to think about our own complicity in this. And then finally, it's the right thing to do. If people are unfree anywhere, we have to deal with it. As Martin King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So I want to see justice for everybody, everywhere, all the time.
And do you believe that some Democratic members of Congress are now reflecting these views that you just outlined? Are they changing the party's stance? Because you have been critical in the past of progressives, on this issue.
I think so. I think that part of it in the past was not that they didn't have the right politics; they just lacked it was more of an anatomical problem. They didn't have the spine to make it happen, and now. I think we're beginning to see consensus. It's one thing to be the only voice. You can get primaried. You can get eliminated from mainstream committees if your position on guns or your position on reproductive rights or your position on whatever is in the minority. But when there's more people there, you can speak up more strongly. You can speak up more powerfully. And I think the question of Israel and Palestine is another one of those issues where Democrats are beginning to develop some consensus and some powerful pushback. And you see it with the Squad. Ilhan Omar spoke out. AOC has spoken out, and all of them have spoken out. The newer members of Congress, like Jamal Bowman, are speaking out. Cori Bush is speaking out, and so having that kind of new energy is absolutely changing the conversation. And I think after Trump and Netanyahu's bromance for 4 years, I think there were a lot of people who said, "Well, wait a minute. If Trump is this much for it, maybe it's something we need to examine here." And we've begun to look at some of these policies. We've begun to reconsider what funding could look like. And we're beginning to make very basic assertions like disproportionate force is wrong, like home evictions and really displacement in Sheikh Jarrah is wrong. That the lack of access to potable water and electricity in Gaza is a humanitarian crisis, and it is wrong. And the more things we can point out and deal with, the more we can get somewhere closer to justice.
Marc Lamont Hill, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your insight.
Thank you.